Hey there nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we're back with an episode of Cheap Shots. This series focuses on money saving tips and tricks to help you save money on the hobby. And on today's episode, what we're going to talk about is using Kill Team Pathfinders from Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team in your games of Necromunda. Now there's a lot of games coming out real quick, a lot of boxes, coming out real quick for the Kill Team's line. They have some really amazing sculpts, and I know a lot of players out there are interested in playing other games, but at the same time they might have a lot of money in order to do so. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, the ideal goal is to be able to use a single set of miniatures for multiple gaming systems, and in this situation we're going to be focusing on the Pathfinders and talk about how you can use tile Pathfinders in your games in Necromunda specifically. We're going to do a couple things in this video. We're going to talk about the narrative of what these guys represent in the Underhive, as well as the play style that this gang will have. I will then provide you a 2,000 point roster that you could use for your Pathfinder gang in your games of Necromunda, and then of course we'll do a gang overview where we'll talk about exactly how you use this gang on the tabletop, and then provide your overall conclusion on this box set. Now, because this video will be a little bit more of a deeper dive, I will put timestamps in the description box down below so that way you can navigate to which part of the video interests you the most. So that being said, let's talk about using Kill Team Pathfinders in Necromunda. Now, probably the most important thing to keep in mind is when you're using a gang like this in Necromunda, the question then becomes, what is the narrative behind this gang, and what does it represent in the environment of Necromunda as well? Now, for this situation, for the list that I'm building for you guys to use, I'm pretty much imagining these guys as mutated Van Saar. The Van Saar are always around radiation all the time. It's why they have to wear those biosuits at all times as well. And let's just pretend that something went wrong with the machines and these guys did not come out right. And the reason why that is the case is because the little gun drones that you actually have in this gang are actually the leaders of this gang. These guys went kind of crazy from too much radiation and they worship machines, so the machines are the leaders of this gang, and so Van Saar kind of took a left turn with these guys as well. So all hail to the machine cult with this group. So now that we got the narrative so down with this Kill Team, let's talk about their playstyle real quick. Now, with the 2,000 point roster I created for this gang, the playstyle for this gang is going to be mainly focusing on shooting. After all, they're supposed to be a Van Saar Outcast gang, so Van Saar being good at shooting, that's what these guys are going to be doing as well. They're going to rely upon their heavy firepower in order to win most of the challenges that they'll be facing in the Underhive as well. Now, even though they're a shooting gang, though, they are still pretty flexible because the type of weapons that I've outfitted this gang with, they can do a good combination of close, medium to long range shooting, and they do have enough, a little bit more of a backup to help them out to stay pretty flexible in close combat as well. And another thing this list does also is it addresses the poor Outcast psychology stats. The leadership, cool, wits, and intelligence scores of the Outcast gangs are horrible to say the least. So we're going to address that problem real quick by using psychic abilities in order to address that problem for this gang, so that way it performs well both physically in terms of combat as well as psychology for any psychology tests that might pop up. So now that we're going to talk about the narrative as well as the playstyle, let's go ahead and talk about the roster for this gang. Now, let's go and talk about the Pathfinders. The Pathfinders will represent a House Van Saar Outcast gang, and we're going to build this at the Aranthian succession at 2,000 points. That way you can participate in much larger campaigns in Necromunda, and of course, if you need to play at lower levels, you can just take off things off this list. So first of all, one of your drones, your MV4 shield generator drone, is actually going to serve as the leader of this gang. Like I said before, it's supposed to represent these guys are now worshipping machines as gods, so this is the leader of the gang. It's going to cost you 465 points. You can equip this person with close combat stats as well as a Wyrd Archetype as well. You're going to equip them with a partial Servo harness with armored Undersuit and mesh armor for really good armor saves. A heavy Stubber, which is going to be perfectly fine because that personal Servo harness will help it to be able to fire that weapon as a basic action. You get a Laspistol for a backup weapon as well as photo goggles so that we can shoot in the dark, and you're going to get the Telepathy discipline with Fearful Aura and Unbreakable Will. The Unbreakable Will aspects can be really important because it's going to be used by not just your leader but your champions as well, so that way they can use that on the Outcast fighters and actually keep their psychology stats really, really well. Now, your next two drones, your MV Gun Drone number 1 and MV1 Gun Drone number 2, they're going to both be your Outcast champions, and they're both equipped exactly the same at 240 credits apiece. Both will have Wyrd Archetypes, both will have armor Undersuits and mesh armor, both will have plasma guns as their primary weapons with Laspistols as well as photo goggles so that they can shoot in the dark, and they will also have the Telepathy discipline with Fearful Aura as well as Unbreakable Will. Now, the Fearful Aura will be nice because your opponent will then have to take a willpower test in order to engage you in close combat, but the Unbreakable Will is what you want to do, because what's going to happen is that the leader's psychology stats are going to trigger your Outcast champions, and they're going to use those same stats to trigger your fighters as well, so that way they stay in the fight longer and not have to worry about breaking and things of that nature. Now let's talk about your Pathfinders real quick. Pathfinder 1 and 2 are equipped exactly the same at 165 credits. Both will have armor undersuits and mesh armor for that 4-up armor save. Last guns with hot shot last packs with telescopic sights, so that way they can do medium as well as long range shooting. They have Laspistols for backup weapons and photo goggles, so that way they could shoot in the dark as well. Pathfinder 3 and 4 are going to be your Outcast Hive Scum. It costs 185 credits apiece. Both are equipped exactly the same. Both will have armor undersuits with mesh armor for that 4-up armor save. They're also going to have the suppression laser, so that way you get that good solid base of strength 4 attacks in close to medium range with like a laser shotgun. They both will have Laspistols for back weapons. Both will have plasting charges to cause massive explosions, and both will have photo goggles so that way they can see the dark as well. And then finally, Pathfinder 5 and 6 will also be Hive Outcast Scums. They're both going to be equipped exactly the same at 150 credits apiece. Both will have armor undersuits with mesh armor for that 4-up armor save. Both will have last carbines with hot shot last packs, so that will be rapid fire strength 4 attacks. Both will have Laspistols for backup weapons, and both will have photo goggles so that way they can shoot in the dark as well. And your last 50 credits will be spent on a rogue dog for 50 credits. Now your gang overview on this one's going to consist of 3 fire teams. Your support fire team will consist of your MV1 shield drone, gun drone, your Pathfinder number 1 and Pathfinder number 2. Your assault fire team number 1 consists of your MV4 shield generator drone, which is your leader, as well as Pathfinder 3 and 4. And then your assault fire team number 2 will consist of MV gun drone number 2, which represents with Pathfinder number 5 and Pathfinder number 6. So now that we're done talking about the roster of this list, let's go and talk about how you'll be using it on the tabletop. Alright, so let's talk about exactly how you're going to use these Pathfinders on the tabletop in your games of Necromunda. So you can see here, I do have a little bit of a strip map here, kind of showing where your enemy positions are located, and then down below are your fire teams as well. Your support fire team will deploy in the center of your deployment area. You'll have your gun drone number 1 as your leader right over here, as well as Pathfinder number 1 and Pathfinder number 2. These guys are responsible for the long range shooting. Assault fire team number 1 will consist of your shield generator drone number 1, which is your champion, as well as Pathfinder 3 and 5. So that way you have a last carbine as well as with rapid fire and strength 4, as well as suppression laser in the same fire team. And the exact same thing's going to happen over here with assault fire team number 2. It kind of mirrors each other based off of the support team on this one. So you're primarily going to be shooting for the most part. If you can, what you want to do is actually not take the offense. What you really want to try to do is have your enemy come towards you, and while they're doing this, what you're doing is you're laying down suppressive fire and dealing with that way. So that's the best way to use this list against enemy that is very close combat oriented. And the reason why you want that is because of your psychic abilities. Outcast gangs are really cheap to field in terms of points, and they do have access to really good equipment. The problem though is that their psychology stats aren't all that great. They're actually quite horrible, except for the leader. So that's why your leader's psychic ability is so important. What they're going to do is they're going to trigger their psychic abilities with their Unbreakable will directly to the fire teams around them. And what that's going to do is it's going to transfer your leader's willpower score to your champions, which is going to make it easier for them to get those Unbreakable will scores of their own out as well. So that way you have this situation where you have this envelopment of leadership support provided by your champions as well as your leader, and therefore directly to the rest of the group as well. This is why it's considered a hive mind type build, because you're kind of connecting all your fighters together. So if you're fighting against enemies coming towards you, you basically just wait, shoot at your enemy at distance until they close around you, and you flank them of course on both sides with your assault team. Now that's originally how this is designed to play. Now unfortunately your opponent might not come towards you, especially if they're a shooting based gang. If that's the case, then you're going to take the offense. The first thing you want to do of course is to get off those bubble area effects psychological boosts to your fighters by using those Unbreakable will telepathic abilities to help out the members of your team. Now while that's happening, your support fire team of course will start laying suppressive fire down with the heavy stubber as well as their hot shot last guns, directing it towards their enemies. Now while this is happening, your assault fire teams then move in directly to the flanks. Now your assault fire teams of course have the support of the plasma gun directly from their leaders, from the various champions, and once again they are getting off those Unbreakable will type of psychic powers off on their entire assault team, so that way they can protect them from doing things like losing their cool and stuff. Now each of these assault fire teams does have a last carbine as well as suppression laser for each of the fire teams. So you're gonna have strength 4 weapons galore. The only problem is of course they're kind of short range weapons. The plasma guns are the only ones that can really reach out and touch your opponents, while these guys are more close quarters combat. And that's perfectly fine, because what they're gonna do is they're gonna start laying suppressive fire down upon your enemies, if not directly assaulting them straight forward. Plasma gun fire combined with rapid fire from your last carbines. Your suppression lasers are also going to cause all kinds of problems for your enemies. These attacks are level strength 4 at the least, so you're gonna have a lot of advantage in doing so as well. And then while this is happening, of course, your support fire team also moves up forward with suppressive fire laid down by your leader using their heavy stubber, as well as last gunfire as well. Now, the last thing you want to do, of course, is to go through and basically just cause chaos. And by doing that, what you're going to do is you're just going to assault forward all 3 fire teams, moving in directly as one, and then going directly into the kill zone and killing anybody that's located in the kill zone. And that's pretty much how it's going to work. So even though they're kind of designed for long range shooting, they're kind of like a really close assault too. They can do things both quite well, whether through close quarters combat or through long range combat, which is a nice thing about this list. The only handicap this list has to deal with are those really bad psychology stats from the Outcast list. So that is why telepathy is so important, and why that hive mind build is going to be very important for this gang's success on the tabletop. Alright, so in conclusion, these boxes of miniatures have a lot of character and look really, really interesting as well. So because of that, why wouldn't you want to use these guys in the Underhive of Necromunda? They're perfect as if you didn't want to play an Outcast gang, you could also play these guys as maybe a Venator gang, as a Bounty Hunter gang if you want to do so. They also make really cool Cold Trader Outcasts as well, because they're also aliens. So that could be something you might want to do as well. But like I said before, the whole purpose of this whole series is to show you how to use multiple gaming systems with a single set of boxes of miniatures, because if you can do that, you can have a lot of fun, have a really good gaming experiences, and at the same time save you some money in the miniature wargaming hobby. So that's gonna do it for those of you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's gonna do it for those of you guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.